Hey, what's up? It's Wimpy, and here's a build. It's my max cast speed build, so 40 decks. Add a gun icon to get to 70 virtual decks. And what this lets me do is it lets me do some pretty fun spell combos that are actually true combos. Most of the time it's carrying Greatsword into carrying Piercer, which is a really good flask punish because you can basically do it on reaction. But I was reading the other day that basically any attack that puts somebody in a damage level 3 stun gets a really good chance at a roll catch with Greatsword if you buffer it. And if they buffer the roll. Obviously, if they're attacking you and they're just spamming R1, they might get out an R1 or R1 or R2, in which case you would just trade. I then went onto the internet and I was like, okay, what does damage level 3 stuns? And there's quite a few weapons that do damage level 3 stuns. And so that's what this whole video and these series of clips is about, is me testing things. So right off the bat here, I wanted to test jumping R2 with halberds to a damage level 3 stun. And you can see it's a little laggy, but he basically cannot get out of the Greatsword cast. However, because of hit stun degradation, he is able to escape the last level. And as you can see now, he attacked me, so I taking damage, but it wasn't interrupted. Weirdly enough, as you can see from this clip right here, you can do a damage level 3 from the second R2 of a Greatsword. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of a fun setup, but it's reliant on being able to land at least that second hit. Here we go. Here's another one from the jumping R2. And here's the full combo. So he probably had a chance to roll out of that last little bit, but he chose instead to press a button that was not roll to let me piercer him. And if you are hosting, don't just send people away like that. And, you know, if you're afraid somebody's gonna get an extra flask or it's like an honor thing, like it's kind of mean because that person's putting their sign down to help you, you know, and you're just gonna send them away. So right there you see he was just out of range of Piercer, but that would have been a true combo if I was in range. So it's definitely fun. It's pretty situational. I think in this clip right here, I am actually testing out the stun that you get from a Colossal Greatsword. Or a Colossal Sword, I don't know. I always call them Uggs because of Dark Souls 3. But yeah, Colossal Sword. I don't even have the stats to use this. I'm just looking for, you know, a way to put somebody into stun so that I can use my spells, right? And again, because he's attacking and not rolling, it's not really a roll catch, but I am casting them fast enough that I'm able to do damage and make like a trade. One of my favorite one of my favorite weapons is the Great Epi. And I read that its fully charged R2 from neutral is a damage level 3 stun. However, it is probably one of the hardest things to land in this game. It feels like it anyway. The animation for it is extremely slow. And you're probably better off just going for, you know, a bunch of R2s or maybe a jumping R2 if you want that level of stun. Its jumping R2 is not particularly good either. I mean, most people use it for the running R2. But here you can see, I have it frost infused. Heavy thrusting swords get quite a bit of status buildup. I have a whole video about, you know, bleed status of Great Epi. But this one is frost infused, and it's really great for setting up a flask punish, obviously, because when somebody takes a bunch of damage, they're just more inclined to want to run and flask, unless you do the true combo. The carrying cross is what Sir Grey Fox calls it. But here, right after Piercer, I have some type of projectile I can use just to finish people off. Swift Glintstone Shard's probably better, but I like Great Glintstone Shard. Just whatever feels good. You know? This poor guy. You can do like a trick jump to get up here if people are chasing, which is what I ended up doing. But yeah, the Great Epi being one of my favorite weapons, I am not deterred from trying to land this combo. I land a bunch of other combos. I don't know if I get another fully charged, but I do get some fun combos, like you can see here. I say it's probably better like as a roll-in punish, because the tracking's not great, but it sweeps. So if you have somebody that's rolling in, feel free to charge the R2. But you know, be prepared to be interrupted a lot if if you're just throwing out charge R2s. Again, it's so slow. You're honestly better off using like a crouch poke from a Colossal sword, or a jumping or running heavy attack from most medium weapons, I believe, do damage level 3. Light weapons don't, so you can't really get it out of a dagger. And then I think things like straight swords and stuff, you don't really do it unless maybe you fully charge the R2. But it's not as consistent. So here is a fun example of just being patient, right? I get up right in his face so I can flask punish. He's able to block with that second attack, the piercer, so I'm thinking maybe I was just a little slow on the inputs, but that's okay. It still did a lot of damage from the shield. And it's always worth just throwing out one or two, just in case you actually catch somebody. There you go, there's the full combo, and it did do a little bit more damage. But his shield is doing a little bit of work. Here is a jumping R2 into a roll catch into Piercer. So that is a true combo, provided they don't mash out of hit stun and they panic roll. They buffer the roll after the first hit. This was a very fun timed volcano pot. My goal was to separate the host and the summon. And if you don't know, if you're doing the stand-up animation after a climb, you're kind of invulnerable to not taking damage, but to being like staggered. So I was able to separate the two, and then there you see I got the fun combo. This clip here doesn't have a combo, but it does have a carrion sovereignty kill. This thing does so much damage right here. You can see I just one-shot somebody. It's not the easiest to land, especially in a situation with multiple people. But if you can land it, it will usually one-shot. And this is a plus 50. not even the best weapon. The build is at RL 80. That was in the beginning, but thought I might reiterate that. Here's a fully charged R2, but they do manage to get their shield out. So I'm thinking, again, maybe I'm a little slow on the input, but it didn't really matter because I was able to land a second piercer. Oftentimes, I've noticed that even if you don't land the greatsword cast, a lot of times people will see the greatsword and they'll think that you're not going to throw out another spell, in which case you can land the piercer on them. And while 27 int, which is what this build has, doesn't have the best spell damage, if you're casting things that combo into each other, the damage adds up. So it's not the end of the world. It'd be nice for it to have more damage, but with the amount of dex that I needed for the build, I just had to skimp on FP and on intelligence. But again, it's mostly used for a flask punish or in very certain scenarios that you set up, so the damage isn't as necessary. But if you wanted to do something similar with like Azur's staff, you know, if you have above 52 int, it would probably destroy. You see here, he dodged that to use his Ash, but I already had a Piercer lined up. I was able to kill him. I kept this guy in because I walked up and R2'd him to his face. I think they were surprised because it took like half their health. And there you go, it's an R2. The host, however, I think I fought them before, so they are kind of aware of the combo. But here's kind of a good example of setting myself up by using the frost procs so that I can make it so that I know that they want to heal. And when they want to heal, then I can punish them and end up with more damage than they would have healed. But they're low now. I can walk in and see, you don't even have to be particularly quick when you're using it as a flask punish, because basically the duration of the animation for drinking fiestas, or the crimson tier, or whatever they call them, is long enough that you can get the cast off. So here again, I put them in low health, and then I'm able to do the full combo. And I mentioned before that there's something called hit stun degradation. All that really means is that there's like an internal number that clocks upwards when you take a hit. And it resets after a little bit. And what that's basically there to allow is, so it keeps you from being infinite, stun locked by certain attacks, because then it increases your ability to roll out of certain scenarios for like a couple frames or something. So that's what hit stun degradation is. Because that's sometimes why the third part doesn't land, is because essentially I've already hit them once before, so they're able to roll out if they're buffering the roll, especially. So it is hard to land the R2, but as you saw a little bit earlier in this clip, the R2 can be canceled at any time by pressing space, and it does a very quick backstep attack. And that's pretty useful, because that's it's not the best stun wise, but it does get people off of you really quick. So this last little bit, I think I don't know if I have any combos in this one. I just thought it was fun and I wanted to include it, because this is kind of the culmination of my spell blading. So having a little rough time here. I gotta retreat to where the PvE is, and wouldn't you know it, blue gets summoned right as I make it over here. So now I have to play a little bit more conservatively. I do, however, know though, because I already fought as blue in another invasion before, but they don't have a lot of health, so I don't have to be that cautious. But here you can see the cast of Greatsword is still fast enough that even without putting somebody in hit stun for it, you can oftentimes time it enough out of a roll. So here in a little bit, the blue's going to panic roll, and I didn't hit stun. I think maybe I hit him with one R2, but I was still able to roll catch. And actually, let me look. Is this a... Oh, okay. It's a running R2. So a running R2 actually is damage over 3. So I was a little bit mistaken there. But here you go. That's setting up for a combo with the expectation that they'll roll and you're able to roll catch them. But this was a pretty fun invasion. I always keep a weapon in my back pocket that does a lot of damage, and this is just one of them. It's not even the best for my stats, but I was surprised at how much damage it did, especially when buffed. This is the Bastard Sword with Chilling Mist, because I just wanted something that had a little bit of hype armor. But see, here, that guy was jumping. Because he was jumping, got knocked back, and so I couldn't do the second part of the combo. They have to be on the ground, otherwise they just get thrown onto their back. But yeah, this is my Spellblade. And definitely check out the epee. I don't know if I would say to go for the fully charged R2, but definitely check out the weapon. It's super fun.